Hi there. It's CJ Miller. I'm in Shreveport, Louisiana, across the Red River from beautiful Bossier City, Louisiana. And come check us out. Always lots of fun things to do. But let's see. In a little bit, I'm going to head out to the gym to do another workout. It'll be like my third workout this week. It's probably not going to be legs. I killed my legs last night, let me tell you. I recently upped all the weights, and then I ended up deciding to walk home uh, from the gym. Well, a couple of blocks from the gym, but it's just yeah. I was riding and I needed to get out. I was kind of getting queasy at my stomach, but anyway, so I decided to yeah, finish the walk uh, because yeah. Oh, I don't even know how to talk about it yet. But anyway. Um, but I'm gonna go, but I'm not gonna do legs. I'm doing like uh, arms and legs and stuff like that. But I am gonna go to the gym and take a bus. I went to see my sister. She's been recuperating from you know well, something that could have been a lot serious than what it's turned out to be, and we're all very grateful for that, you know. But yeah, this vase with the flowers was gifted to her. And then she asked me when I was up there, would I bring it home and take care of it until she got out? And I said, yeah, you know, because I had these wonderful little blue things, and she thought it would look nice on the table. And I was like, well, I'll tell you, I'll take it home so that when you get out and get home, the vase will be here for you. I don't know if these flowers will still be alive. Uh, I've added a little water. I don't have an aspirin, but there are some things you can get or do to help preserve the life of flowers, but probably these particular flowers won't be here. But maybe I'll get some other flowers out of the grocery store flower thing, or whatever happens to be in season at the stores, and I can get them and bring them. This reminds me, in February I'm going to. Hang on, let me step outside. All right, so in February, I'm going to take a trip to Florida, where I used to live in Miami-Dade. I could give you a specific, but the fact is when I lived there long enough that I was kind of like all over the whole county, you know, and then some. But this was way back in the turn of the millennium. So, yeah. And what did I remember? It was a lot of fun things and a lot of life lessons. What I remember most was the tragedy. I worked in a restaurant in Homestead, and of course, a very small town, and not so adults, and then we also worked with students, who were in their last year or so of high school, uh, and we'd be their opportunity for employment, whatever, the restaurant. And so yeah, we socialized. I wasn't like one of those creepy guys that just like partied with high school kids or anything like that, but uh, we did carpool a lot, and yeah. So we became friends. This guy, Charlie, and I, and one of his friends from school was 17 years old, and he had recently just lost his mom, and it was really sad and tragic. And she died, and I just remember living in Miami-Dade, just going about my life as we do, uh, when we're living away from home, and we don't always remember, hey, let's pick up the phone and call home every couple of days or whatever. And this was coming after a period of estrangement, mostly of my own doing, not entirely. But this 17-year-old kid, and I don't remember his name, and but some of these people were infinitely more mature than I was at the time. Uh, and I remember just him just asking about Like he was just curious, and he was just talking about my family, and I was talking about how, I really don't talk to my family. I'm kind of estranged. We haven't talked in months, and even before then, it was sporadic, and he got this very solemn look on his face, and he told me that that I really should talk to my mother because one day I would want to talk to my mother, but maybe I wouldn't be able to because she wouldn't be here. And that was from this high school, you know, uh, you know, yeah, he was a junior. I don't even think he was a senior yet. And that was probably the greatest bit of life advice I have ever received in my entire life. And I don't know that it would have been the same had it had come from anybody else. You know how people they're always given this, oh, well, you never know, you better do this or that or whatever. And it was in this particular time, there was a tone, there was a, I'll tell you what made the difference in that advice. That young man's personal experience, that he knew what he was talking about in that moment, and when he said that very simple thing, you should talk to your mother because one day you're going to want to talk to your mother and you won't be able to because she won't be here. And that life advice that I know he lived, that just stuck to me. He's like, you know what? He's right, and he's not talking. This isn't a common sense, something that's been said so often that it's part of the lexicon of our culture, and so it's common sense to our culture. It has nothing to do with all that. It wasn't just a turn of phrase. This was a real life experience, and I got that in this little town of Homestead, Florida. And I'm so excited. It's been so long. I used to keep in touch with the restaurant. Uh, Mostly by occasionally talking with some of the people that I used to work with. I'd call them long distance or whatever. And that was even before unlimited cell phones. So, I mean, it was costly to call these. We had like cell phone plans of like such and such and such. But if you, it's there, but don't use it, And I had like a joint cell phone plan with this guy that I was seeing. I've talked about him before, not by name, but just to let you know, he was a professional musician, uh, liturgical, of course. And what it is was he was going out of town, so just so he could keep in touch, he had bought a flip phone on his plan to share you know. Uh, share his minute plans or something like that. But apparently, the whole idea is that I was never to use the phone, only to receive it. It was like that equivalent to a beeper. I got to thinking about this the other night. I've had um, I was in an employment situation where my boss chased me around the properties that I worked for because I was a live-in caregiver to his mother, and that went on. And it was pretty, it got pretty like it started out me being an employee, and then it started out, you know, him being kind of like a benefactor. It just things really, really changed, and I was way inexperienced. And oh my God, did I just have to just basically at the end of it, it was like survival. This guy is doing everything to try to manipulate me into some sort of sexual situation, and it's not going to happen. Let's put it like this: the guy was around my age, the age that I am now, and I was in my early 20s, and it's not even like if the guy had been in decent shape, if I had any sort of feelings or whatever, age would not have mattered. But the fact is the guy was just, ugh, and they just looked just ugh. But aside from that, there was ooh, just the whole like, I'm your boss, controlling it. It was that kind of thing. That was that kind of thing. And when it didn't work out, uh, and I was gonna. Anytime I tried to leave the job or whatever, he would enlist sometimes family members of mine even. Uh, you know, but just whatever. And he'd do that whole thing where you go driving all over town to look for someone so you can, like, I don't know. It was that happened more than once, and eventually it was like, I just can't. And it came to a head. It came to like a shoving match, and got like that was my wake up. It was like after like 4.5 years or something like that. This turned into a volatile situation where it wasn't just somebody. It wasn't just like yelling at each other. It got like. So that was my thing. And I got a scar. To prove it. A physical scar, pretty gnarly one on my. It happened. My arm's covered up right now, but this isn't it. This happened right there. Like I burned it on a convection oven door that shut. It's one of those things where you hold it open and you have to open it all the way, otherwise it'll shut itself. And I had it braced open with the plate, but not completely open. So it's kind of my fault. I misused the convection oven, but anyway, it shut on my arm. But I have worked in so many kitchens that like a burn on the arm is nothing. It's like, okay, whatever, that just happened. Move along, whatever. You know, if you've ever worked in a professional kitchen, something's gonna happen somewhere down the road where you're gonna get these light little burns or something like that. It's not the end of the world. Uh, but the arm itself has a really gnarly, like the remnants of a scar. But I remember, oh my God, uh, Vicky, I'm sorry if you're watching this. Uh, it's like went to recuperate from that injury with my sister, and she was trying to clean because it's required sutures and everything like that. And I was just like, and she's, unwrapping the bandages and trying to clean it with some sort of peroxide, and they rebandaged it. And it was so gnarly. She nearly like puked on my arm. She didn't. She helped. She was like, but yeah, it was a pretty gross looking arm. Yeah. But now you wouldn't know it. I mean, the markings are there, but they're markings. They're less like scars than they're more like markings and less like scars or whatever. I'm pretty sure if I wanted to, I could get some ink that you're turning into like, some thorny roses or something like that. But there's nothing symbolic in that at all. I like the fact that it's there. It kind of reminds me to, that sometimes uh, tempers, they're as harmful to ourselves as they are to the other people that we would unleash them on. That whatever. So just kind of well, whatever. A little reminder to like watch and behave myself when it comes to the physical kind of things. But we wasn't like a horrible guy. He was just someone that wow. Uh, and I talk about this because I will eventually talk about this in some sort of more widespread kind of way. Some of these relationships, some of these things that I will explore. But so I think it's cool to talk through it, to find out the different ways in which the different perspectives in which to see things. But I did have a relationship when I was down in Florida, a pretty long term relationship. It wasn't like the big, most significant relationship, but it was a real relationship. And the thing there is that I wanted monogamy. I had already had my freewheeling, partying, this and that, and everything. So I wanted something a little substantial. And the guy Bobby was not ready for uh, you know, a monogamous person. And I'm like, in my heart, in my deep heart, like from the moment I was as a teenager, I was kind of wild, just kind of like, rambunctious and just uh, rambunctious is not the word for it. I was kind of okay as a kid and a teen, but I was always kind of like undercover, a wild person, really, really wild. It's just I was able to, you know, uh, I don't know, have some sort of duality with it, you know. Uh, so anyway, I got all that out, but since and then when I guess I came back to Shreveport after some stuff, consequences of actions and everything in my 20s, and really it was like, at this point, yeah, I can be, uh, because I had already been at couch surfing, and basically people, here's the thing, you can stay here and, room and board and everything like that. It's all good and everything like that. Just help with the house cleaning and help with the dishes and everything like that. That became me. I became very much a nester. My very first official job. Well, that's not true. It wasn't my first official job. I had some, I was briefly in the military, but very briefly. But aside from that, my first real job was basically in around Tupelo, Mississippi, and Sherman, Mississippi. I took a job we lived in Tupelo, and I took a job working at a plastic factory in Sherman, Mississippi, and they hired me just on my having an ID and a driver's license, but I did not have my birth certificate or my social security card or anything like that. But they hired me and just said, "Hey, when you get it, bring it in to us." But that's a guy that I met. What was his name? Last name was Flag. Uh, and he had this thing. There was this comedian, I want to say Fanny Flag or something, old, almost old. He had this whole notion that somehow he was like uh, related to her or something like that, and so I'm not, since I'm using the last name, I won't even use the first name if I think of it. But yeah, we was just kind of like, just jump in the car and run up and down all over uh, the country basically for a couple of months. But it was like, I got no. Like it got weird, so it got weird, and I got like, forget it. I will just go to, I'll just stay here, and that where I decided to stay just happened to be in uh, Louisville, Kentucky, and then whatever. There's more to that story, but that wasn't like a relationship thing. That was like a thing. That was just a whatever. But I did at some point. I find myself, because I was pretty um, nomadic, um, but very much. By the time I came back home to Shreveport for a while, I was very much a domestic person. I was someone, I would cook. I wasn't like, maybe it was just going to be like mac and cheese or hamburger helper or something like that. But I would cook until I learned how to do better, and then I would clean and keep up with things and everything. And if there were kids, I'd watch kids, and whatever. I was very much a domestic person. And but the first job I had was that plastic factory in Sherman, Mississippi. But then after that, I started doing, like I found myself, like I said, around Kentucky. And so one of the jobs that I had there, that was the first job actually, after the Sherman, Mississippi thing, that only lasted for about a week. So they just kept the money. I'm like, whatever. And then, I guess some underground day kind of stuff, like, cleaning out a bar here or there or something. But yeah, there was a lady in Kentucky, and I'm trying to think of the name of the city. Why did I not know this off the top of my head? It was so many zillions of years ago. But yeah, I know I found myself there, and there was no way in or out of that town if you didn't have your own vehicle, which I did not. Um, yeah. Oh my God. It wasn't Louisville. It wasn't Lexington. It wasn't Bowling Green, but it wasn't that far. I'll think of it later. Oh my God. I can remember the people. I remember the people that I hung out with. Um, but I just can't remember the little name of the little town. Oh, it's the same place where Johnny Depp was born. Um, Owensboro, Kentucky. I had to flip through and cross-reference the little internal Rolodex there. Owensboro, Kentucky. And I took a job caring for uh, an elderly lady who had Parkinson's, and I pretty much stayed with her during the week, and then I time shared an apartment with the guy who swapped out with her during the day, and they hired me without. I had lost all ID. The agency sent me on this job, and I had literally no identification whatsoever. Right? And I wasn't gonna get any identification. Uh, there's more to that story too. But that was amazing. This was something that would just you could just walk in and that people just get hired on the spot for jobs like that and everything. So that's something else too. If you have someone uh, coming into your home, taking care of your family, your elderly patients and stuff like that, make sure to vet them. Make sure to know them. Make sure the company knows them. Uh, don't just say, "Oh, hey, the agency sent me over. Good, you can start here." No, you as a household, you also need to do your own background checks because the agencies, uh, maybe they don't really always do what they should do. Yeah, when it comes to, and I'm living proof of that. But I didn't do any like fraud or any. I didn't pretend. I wasn't like fraudulent or anything like that. It's just I didn't have identification, so it would have been easy to pull that off. Some sort of fraud or something. No, but anyway, yeah. But all that, yeah, blah blah blah. Go through this past. I'm just killing time rambling. Um, and go inside and have some sodas and stuff like that and head out to the gym. I think what it is when I got to, by the time I really got around to um, Homestead, Florida, I was ready to settle down and nest with someone. And the guy that I was living with, and I'll just say his first name was Bobby, he was not ready for, uh, you know, uh, and it's like, so we did our best to try to make it work, but it was like, yeah, we're just when you're on different pages, no matter what you think, and no matter what you think of other people, no matter how you care, no matter how much you're in sync, if you're not on the same page as your life goals and you're trying to cohabitate, and it's at some point those roads there's going to be a parting of the ways, you know. If there's not you know, if there's not a ride or die kind of situation. Now, in no relationship is there ever one person's in charge of everything all the time, and then the other person follows the lead all the time. It's always a intertwining. It's not just a parallel. It's got to be an intertwining, and there's got to be a singularity in objective. In life goal or whatever. Otherwise, those separate objectives will separate the person. I don't give a damn what people say. Anything to the contrary, uh, no. You got to have common goals and common aspirations. Whether you meet those or not, you've at least got to have the same. You know, uh, you got to have the same motive. You got to have the same motivation. Otherwise, otherwise, just by you know, just by the rules of how motion works, you're gonna separate. Uh, those things that happen, the physical properties, those rules apply for emotional properties as well. So yeah. So find yourself someone who's going to have the same uh, ideals and goals and want the same thing that you want, and really willing to make that commitment. Whatever happens, whatever we achieve, whatever adjustments we have to make, uh, you know, if we fail, if we succeed, they can't take away our dignity. That, whatever. I don't know. Just if you don't have someone who you can pair with and just do everything, commitment, no matter what. If it's not that, then just be okay with being a serial monogamous, because that's what it's going to be, because you will eventually separate from those relationships, and then maybe if that's the case, you'll find someone that you really can lock in goals together with. But uh, uh, let me see what else. Yeah, the radio homestead. But anyway, why I'm thinking about this, because it was so long ago, but I do want to go back to Homestead. I'm going in February, and I'm gonna visit some people. I want to spend some time in Miami Beach. There are other things. There's a big reason why I'm going. I haven't you know disclosed that yet, but it's part of the thing that I'm going to be doing over this next season. Uh, I'm going to be doing some tripping. If I have seasons, I guess I could do this. I guess I can do this. I guess I can start a new season. If I have seasons to my YouTube channels, then maybe the next season will be about some of the explorations that I'm going to be taking, starting in September, and then moving forward. Just, yeah. Which I can tell you, my very first YouTube, I thought about, hey, if this YouTube has seasons, the first one would be about me waiting, that building right there, the Fairmont where I lived, and waiting for them to build these. I was early in the waiting list for the apartments and everything that were built here, and I knew as they were coming together that I was going to be able to get in, and they're nice apartments. This is a 3.5 foot, basically a wading pool, but it has never been opened. It's opened one day since I've been here, and that was for a community event, probably about 2.5 years ago or so, something like that, on a 4th of July. But other than that, it's never been opened. So it's not, don't move here if you think you're gonna swim, even in the summer, or whatever. But what else? Yeah. If it were a priority, because there are lots of places that do have wonderful adult-sized swimming pools and everything like that. So, but yeah. Anyway, I like this summer is almost past. It's almost time for the kids to go back to school, and not a single one of them ever got to see the inside of that pool. They just and yeah, whatever. I literally don't care. I like going to lakes and things like that. So what else? What else? If that was the first season waiting to get moved over here, then the second season would have been about getting in and what I'm gonna do and how I'm gonna decorate this apartment, how I'm gonna set it up, or whatever, that kind of thing. And I guess, um, I don't know. Are we up to a third season or is it a fourth season? I don't know. Maybe I did a season where I kind of focused on like painting and art or something like that. But I was gonna do that anyway. I don't know if that actually counts as a season. But this would be like a fourth season. I don't really have like this is a season. This is this is not what this channel is about. But if it is, and now we're gonna enter a different season, it would be about uh, me kind of stepping out and enjoying my vitality, because as that young man in Homestead told me, and he was only 17, one of these days, my mother's not going to be around and I want to talk with her, and I may not be able to. Well, also, you just never know when one of these days there's going to be a turn in your vitality, your life force, your life, basically, your health. That's what we're talking about. And maybe one of these days, you're not really going to be able to do the things that you want to do. So while you have some sort of ability to actuate a plan, set some money aside or whatever, do some things that maybe you want to do. If it can't be your everyday lifestyle, save up for it, but do experience whatever brings you joy. And do that to the fullest while you are able to do it. Make sure it's a real joy, though. Chemically induced drugs and party drugs and doing. I don't really have anything against any of that. Anything in moderation for people who want to do that. But for me, that was just not a sincere. That lifestyle was not sincere joy. Wasn't sincere happiness. It was artificial. And some of those memories I don't have because I don't remember them. Things happened. People told me about them and everything, but I don't remember. So I don't know. You don't really get to even in that moment, if you're experiencing what you think is the fullest of life, what good is that if you can't fucking remember it? So, yeah. That's I guess the next bit of this YouTube channel. I'm gonna try to focus on as much enjoyment as possible. I think I did. Different little themes from here, and I could see that there were little themes that were going to kind of be the focus of my next few months. And so from one point it was moving from the Fairmont over here, waiting for that to happen, and then there was the whole getting everything set up, working on that, and that was something that I did, and I did. Some artwork and this and that. Like I said, I still don't know if that qualifies as a season, but it did go on for a while. I did 3 or 4 different paintings in there. Some of them are hanging on the wall. But about also what to that kind of goes into decorating the house and stuff like that. I know I talked about some health and everything. I'd still talk about that a lot, but I think now that we've gotten healthier physically, we do one of two things: sit on a rocking chair and rock, And you can find reflection and enjoyment in that. And if that's what it is, do that. But I have, you know, like I think there's a song that Stevie Nicks uh, sang, and I don't know if it's one that she wrote. I don't know if it may have been something that someone else wrote, but it was for the soundtrack to Boys on the Side, the movie. But the movie is Sleeping Angel, and I think that may have been, did Sheryl Crow write that one? I don't know. I'll have to look into it. I don't know. I don't really think that Stevie Nicks wrote it, but there is one part that talks about a two-part personality, the flower and the vine. And I've got that. I'm a person, I'm a nester. And I've always wanted to take care of and this and that. But I've also been an explorer. And that part of me is still very much active, you know. And so what I want to do is I want to have some adventures, you know, in life. Make the most of life, you know. And that's what a lot. That's a lot of what's going to be going on in the next few months, going into next year, even, you know. Yeah, because let's not take the days for granted. One of these days, one of these days, my little old man thing. One of these days, well, we're gonna run out of days, right? Here on in this particular coil, I do believe that, you know, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, and everything. The body breaks down into its chemicals. These chemicals become part of other compounds. Those other compounds sometimes are part of living organisms. Sometimes they're not. But inevitably, they too will break down. And I do believe that I will be a part of some other consciousness. There are, just in that physical coil here on Earth, in the universe even, there are other levels of consciousness other than this human being right here. But I think it's more than that. I definitely do believe in a spiritual component of it, you know. And whether I'm right or wrong on that doesn't really matter. Whether there's a soul or not, it doesn't really matter, because living as if there is a soul means that that I'm a better behaved person, and that's better for the world. You know, so what's the harm in that? So yeah, love and light, peace, ciao bella.